And we are live. Good evening, good night, good day, good morning, good afternoon, depending on what time zone you're in. Uh, you are most very welcome to the latest episode of Beyond Horizons Edge. Tonight's chapter entitled A Field of Snowdrops. And before we dive into the events that have happened, and now we get to relive them, experience them, witness them firsthand. A couple of things at the top of the stream to begin with. Firstly, if this is your first time around the D8 dungeon parts, you are most very welcome. We are a group of mostly Irish-based TTRPGers who love telling stories and sharing them with the world. You can check us out on all major social media platforms at D8 Dungeon, or you can head on over to our Discord server where you will find some of the nicest, coolest people on the planet. And you can find out more about what we do, any events that we're attending, or streams that we're coming up for, or even open casting calls that we might have going. Um, so that's who we are. Um, I want to flag some good friends of the show here. Mystery Dice Goblin. Mystery Dice Goblin are purveyors and I was say dealers, but vendors of all kinds of TTRPG goodies and accessories. So if you are in the need, mood, or want for some brand new dice, but you can't quite put your finger on what kind of set's the ideal set for you, then you should check out their blind bags, their Mystery Goblin dice bags. There's a whole lot of stuff to choose from. And if you use the code D8 at the checkout, you will get 15% off your order, and we get a portion of that sale back to us as a as kind of a stipend. So that helps us commission artists, work with musicians to create music for our various different shows and projects, and helps keep the lights running around here as well. And ultimately, you're helping a small business and getting awesome dice for it too. I want to. I think that's all my stuff at the top. Yep. But I do want to just flag that tonight's episode, our chapter, is entitled A Field of Snowdrops. If you've been following Beyond Horizons Edge, you'll know that we have a couple of that we've been dealing with party members leaving. And tonight we are going to be looking into the first loss, actually exploring the events as they occurred and what has happened, or what fate befell our Annam. But because this is a flashback episode, or a vision of sorts, looking into events and moments in a character's life that had a pronounced impact on them. It does mean that tonight's session will be dealing with kind of themes around mental health, depression, parental expectations, and self-loathing and stuff like that. If any of those things are an issue, or you find them quite upsetting to deal with, then please, it's an open door. Close the tab. You don't need to stick around for it. This is a flashback, effectively. So the events as they are here will be described from another character's perspective, maybe in a future episode, without the full experience. So you won't miss out on anything too much, other than kind of the real visceral details of Annam's experience growing up. Past that, I have said it to both my players, Eilish and Richard, as well as our producer Emma, that if they don't feel comfortable in stream during the events, then I've asked them to it might come up, you might see it flagged, but to cover their camera, or to obstruct it or block it, as a note to me to move on from that particular scene, leave that behind. If that happens, we probably will go to a quick intermission break just so that we can check in on everybody around the table, and then we'll come back to it after that. Um, all good other than that? So if you're out there in chat, do say hello. Do feel free to uh, let us know what you've been up to in your games and your campaigns. So what have you been, what kind of activities you've been going through, or if you want to talk about your character's backstory and how they might have reacted to some of these events, then always happy to see other people sharing their own characters' experiences with it. So without further delay, let's dive into tonight's chapter. And Diara, as you kind of feel your body kind of awaken, there's a moment where, as your eyes begin to open and light begins to filter through, you can almost, it's almost as if the dream that you had been experiencing, that you had been that your mind had been kind of drawn into or had been holding on to, sort of lingers at the edges. And you can hear outside the sounds of footsteps as other new initiates to the guild ready themselves for the day ahead. You can just about make out the sound of Byron shouting. He hasn't knocked on your door, but all the while, as much as that's happening here, it's that thing of, as you try and turn to look, as you try and turn to see, um, give me a wisdom saving throw.
Oh, +0. Come on, man. 13.
You kind of feel yourself, your body kind of is kind of snapping into its usual morning routine, and you do feel yourself kind of moving, and the dream kind of begins to slip. And again, as your eyes kind of continue to adjust in that moment, you do see everything kind of happens very, very quickly. There's a moment where, as you move forward, your feet hit snow, and you kind of feel the coldness of the wetness, and it sends a shiver through the room, and you can hear the whistling of the wind. And as you kind of like try to make sense of this, well, is it still a dream? Is it an illness? Is it a spell? Is it a joke? Trying to did Reggie put snow in your room? It, all these things kind of occur to you, and as you kind of look up towards the light coming in the window, standing there, just sort of sitting on the lip of the windowsill, you see a woman dressed in a long silver gown, and she just turns to look at you, and you kind of, there's a sense of nostalgia about her, and then she's gone.
Weird. So she's gonna just like sit up and give her eyes a good rub, and then maybe throw her bedclothes off and just walk over to the window and look out. And then she'll turn and look for Mooney.
You don't see Mooney. It's odd, but it looks as if the Furbug was up before you.
That never happens. We normally wake at the same time, so she's a bit like, why didn't she wake me up? Um, and yeah, she'll just put it down to like that half awake, half asleep thing, and then just kind of go about her normal morning routine, wash her face, brush her hair, get dressed, and knock on Reggie's door.
Okay. As you as you step outside of your room, ready for the day, dressed, face washed, kind of hair tidied, uh, there is a bit of activity around the halls in the guild. You a couple of days ago had moved up to the initiates floor, having effectively graduated from recruit. You and your belongings, as well as Mooney's, were shifted from your the room on the ground floor up here, where kind of full fledged members of the guild are given kind of slightly bigger quarters, nicer views. Uh, the rooms here aren't. You're only sharing with one person, whereas in the recruits rooms, there's anywhere from 4 to 8
Yeah.
to a room, depending on the bunks. Uh,
Okay.
you knock on Reggie's door, and at first there's no response. And as you knock a second time, this time beyond it, you can hear laughter.
She's not going to wait for someone to open the door. She's going to just open the door and be like, "What are you laughing about?"
The door swings open, and again, you just feel this rush of cold air around you, and you're staring into an open floor. There's a heavy set fire burning right in the middle of it, and in one corner you see this hulking mass of a man just sort of stooped in a corner, uh, seems to be cleaning something. He's kind of kept it very close to his chest. All the while, his eyes are on the fire and what lies beyond it. And on the other side of the room, there are shadows cast against the wall, and you see furs and pelts hanging. You can see herbs dangling from the ceiling and flowers kind of drying. You see a young woman, um, tall and lean, and just her hair kind of catching the red hot embers of the fire. And in her hands, she's holding a newborn baby. And he is wrapped in a heavy cloth. And she's just sort of cradling and cooing to him. And you can hear her humming a song.
Is this like do I remember the events of the forest with Mooney?
Give me a wisdom saving throw.
God damn it! Ooh, that 20.
It's it's very very strange as you like as this scene kind of unfolds before you. It's that there's a kind of a confusion, and the only thing that you can kind of eye, or that your eye is kind of drawn to, it's not the man in the corner, and you can see that he's clearly polishing an axe. That is catching the light from the fire. Your eyes are drawn to her. Your
Mhm.
eyes are drawn to this woman cradling a newborn baby, and it's the song that she's humming. And you remember her. You remember her from the woods yesterday. This this happened. This happened yesterday. You were looking. You had gone out looking for missing villagers. You had gotten separated from Annam, and there's a moment where, as you are just staring at her, the baby begins to kind of cry, and she looks down at him, um, and just like wiping a little kind of spit from around his mouth. She kind of looks back towards the man sitting in the corner, and as she turns, her eyes lock on yours, and she's looking directly at you. And then you hear her say, and you're not quite sure it, what she's speaking to the man, because he shifts, but she's speaking in a language that you don't recognize.
Oh, weird. Um, she's just going to be like, "Hey, I'm I met you yesterday," and she's kind of looking over her shoulder in confusion, trying to figure out if she's still dreaming or if this door is another weird teleportation thing.
When you turn to when you turn like to look, like, am I still in the guild hall? Am I still
Mm.
on Doe? Am I still in Canuck? You turn over your shoulder, and it's just you just see all these trees, and just acres and acres of land smothered in snow. Thick, heavy grey clouds uh, blanket the sky and seem to swallow up mountains in the distance. You recognize the landscape. You recognize. I mean, you've no idea where you are in the world, but you recognize it in the sense of you saw these mountains, you saw these fields only a day ago.
She's just going to do like a little 360 on the spot and like pinch herself to see.
They can't hear you. Apparently, we may have lost both of your feeds. Um, I don't know if that's on my end because we're still in the call. I can still see both of you, but I think the stream might have dropped. It's just black boxes, yeah. So I don't know if it's even pulling in your subs either. So, um, um, technical difficulties. Uh, yeah. Um, it's I love these sessions where I effectively get to throw characters into complete and total mystery, and they have to kind of fumble their way through it. Uh, you're not. No, no, this is fun. Oh, it's just me. Okay, I get to. I get so I. There are people here, and I am talking to real people. It's just you can't see them, everybody. uh, so we no no. Oh, clearly you. I mean, if you're going to answer to that, it means. Uh, um, we may have Declan stream for imaginary friends. Okay, I'd like to remind you, Richard, that it's your character that this session is for, and I can make this a lot worse. um, yes. Okay, vamp. I don't know. I was vamping, and then everybody kind of threw me off, and now chat's kind of bullying me in that Richard and Eilish are in chat and Ben's in chat, and they're all being mean to me. Which it, I don't know if you're back from me
Hey!
back on stream. Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, great. Sorry, I couldn't see it because now I can see it. I don't need to wake up again. Yay! I can go back into delusion. um, it is, Diara. It is that thing And actually, sorry, I don't know if chat completely lost it, but I think we might go back just a couple of moments before. Um, as I was saying, Diara, you do recognize the landscape, like as you do kind of a 360, like you turn, the cabin, no, the interior, no. You recognize the woman. Um, she was in the woods yesterday, and as you turn to kind of get a better survey of where you are, you do just see rolling hills just smothered in snow, thick gray clouds overhead that just swallow the mountains on the horizon. And you recognize the trees and this space as I was here yesterday. This is where we were looking for the villagers. We got separated. This is where we found ourselves. We lost Annam, and then this is where everything went wrong. Um, and as you are kind of looking and searching for anything, and even sort of like pinching yourself or looking over your shoulder to try and no, I'm dreaming. I woke up and I was in a weird sort of mind anyway.
Mm.
As you look over your shoulder and you call out to the people in front of you, you just hear a voice say, "They cannot hear you."
She's gonna look for the source of the voice.
It it felt it felt almost like a whisper.
Mm.
And again, it's one of those things of as you turn to look or to kind of it came from over my shoulder, and as you turn to look back, just sort of half sort of almost like transparent nearly. They're lost in the distance. You can just see a woman standing there, uh, tall, again that long silver gown, and she's moving away from you, like she's and it's not like she's not floating, she's trudging through the snow, like she's just sort of stomping through it to kind of
It's the woman from like
the
when I
windowsill.
woke up this
Yeah.
morning. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Dia's gonna take off after her. Hey, what do you mean? What do you get? Come here. Like, what do you mean they can't? Who are you?
It's me, Byron. And Dara, as you kind of like reach out, you kind of half stumble into Byron, just at the bottom of the stairs,
Oh,
in the guild hall.
sorry, sorry. I'm still half asleep. Um, have you seen Mooney?
I have, yeah, she's gone out with Regiment
Why did they leave without me?
because I sent them on an errand.
Okay. Um, I guess I'll just go help Eileen.
You you do know the barring is still in place,
Oh,
so you can continue to do your work here at the sorting desk if you don't mind. Really, there's quite a couple of letters and scrolls and everything that needs to be kind of filtered through. So,
yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. No,
and
no.
he is he's kind of like the little halfling is kind of, he's looking up at you, and he has kind of a fixed. He's kind of slightly perplexed. You weren't out with Regiment the 3 nights sitting and running, were you?
No, no, I don't have the stamina for that.
You're not looking particularly. Well, just sit yourself down, take a cup of water, and get to work.
She's gonna find the nearest reflective surface and be like, "What's wrong with my face?"
Uh, there is like that, like as you kind of sit down at the desk and stuff like that. There's you're kind of looking, and there's just kind of a glass box, and you don't see a mirror, but you can kind of half catch your reflection. You do look tired.
Mm,
You look a little peaky, but you don't like you look fine.
yeah. She's just gonna roll her eyes then and start flicking through all the scrolls and stuff.
And it's that thing of busy hands, busy mind. The morning kind of shuffles on, and people come up and talk to you, and they're asking, "Did you see the what Reggie did to the painting?" And people are kind of uh, trying to get your take on it a little there, but all the while, it just feels like background noise. Um, you are very much present in body, but your mind is elsewhere. And again, that woman traipsing through the snow, the family inside the cabin, and you start to dwell on that image as you are kind of sorting through deliveries and missives for the guild. And in that, you hear the song that the woman was humming, and again, you find yourself drifting. Only this time, it's it's sort of you know you can feel yourself in your seat, but when you look up and you look out over the desk, out into the kind of the main reception area here in the Summerkeep Guild, before you see the just these sprawling woodlands, and you can quite clearly hear a young woman calling out, "Annam, Annam," and then something just whooshes past you, and you hear a splat as a snowball strikes the trunk of a tree. Uh,
That
Annam, give me a stealth check.
That's a 15.
Nope. You are burrowed down. Like it's that thing of like you a thick, heavy coat on you. You bury yourself down next to the trunk of a collapsed tree, and even going so far as to almost pull snow over yourself to kind of like blend into the surroundings. When you just feel a pelt against the back of your hood as a softly crafted snowball. It hasn't been compacted, just smacks you straight into the back of the head, and you just hear a laughter coming from behind you.
I will try to pack a snowball very quickly and without checking, just turn and throw it.
Give me, I guess, like an attack roll, but with disadvantage if you're just going to chuck it and see.
Bup, 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 bup. So a 9 plus, let's say, 3. I don't know.
Okay.
It's probably not going to hit.
Um, it does, or some of it kind of does. Like as you kind of feel it, it's that thing of like you grab a handful, like you just scrape it up from the dirt, and you kind of fling it out. You've kind of quickly mashed it together in your hands as you just blindly throw it. It whizzes through the air, and as you kind of turn, you see standing about 15 feet away from you in a long, heavy winter's coat, and large, heavy snow boots. Just these locks of auburn red hair, kind of just dangling out from the hood, um, and a face where like, you kind of caught her, kind of just around the mouth. She's spluttering out kind of a mouthful of like snow and a little dirt, and she's uh, okay. We're even, I guess. Um, and as she kind of holds her hands up in kind of like, I surrender, she does step forward, and you recognize Grail, your mother.
Um, I think I'm going to throw one more snowball.
Give me a. This time you don't have to make. It won't be a disadvantage. But she was going to do the same thing. So I think it's a snowball off. So she's going to throw. You're going to throw, and uh, she has a +3 to her attack roll with snowball. So that doesn't make. That's a 9 for Krail.
Not one.
Okay. It it's in that moment, Annam, that as you had kind of turned like one hand, kind of like that, scraping what little snow you can get off of the log, and like scrunching it into your hand, you see that she has dropped her hands and she's kind of stuffed them into her pockets, and you see the glint in her eye. Like she's very stern and very serious in her "I surrender," but you can just see it, and her eyes are just this offset against the snowy white ground and the peeling birch bark. Her eyes are just this wonderful emerald green, um, and they betray her in such a way because you can just see the mischief. Um, and in that moment, you throw. She does as well. Hers is faster, and she gets you right in the face. Your hand slips, your snowball goes up, and it just lands on you as well, and you're sent kind of stumbling back onto your arse, uh, into the hard, wet, frozen dirt, and pain just courses through you. Like you feel kind of like the sting of it, the sharpness of the cold on your face. She hadn't meant to hit you square on the face. But it was when you had turned, uh, she was hoping to maybe catch you in the shoulder. She ended up pelting you with a snowball right into the face. And as you stumble back, immediately you just hear, "Oh gods!" And she just bolts towards you, kind of like that, tutting and fussing and kind of like reaching down for you.
I think there's the moment of, am I hurt? I'm hurt. And then the whole situation just gets too much. And by the time she's reached me, I've started to laugh.
As the laugh kind of erupts, and what she was so frightened that one, she had hurt you, and then she had upset you. Uh, to hear you laugh, you just hear it erupt from her, and the pair of you are here in the middle of the woods, uh, and as she scoops down, she even slips and falls into the snow in front of you. And she's now looking up. She has ice crystals kind of stuck in her hair. Her face is red, from the cold, but also from the laughter. Her hair is kind of wet as well. Some of it's kind of sticking to her face. And she just reaches out for you to kind of like brush some of the snow away from around your mouth, and kind of like scooping it out from your top, like from the crease of the coat. And as she kind of reaches up to just comfort you, you just hear a voice from behind. Look at you. So full of joy. Tell me, Annam, where did the joy go? Was it stolen, or did you throw it away? And the crippling dread rises up, and you just hear and feel Gruum behind you. Give me a wisdom saving throw.
Which I'm historically very good at.
Yes, you are. I'll
Oof.
I'll take
10.
okay.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. I will. I'm conscious that we've had a couple of people just join the stream now, so I do want to take a moment to just sort of reiterate. Tonight's session is going to be a little on the heavier side in terms of role play, and we're exploring a character's backstory, and there are themes around um, uh, family, mental health, self-loathing, and stuff like that. So I've spoken to our table, I've spoken to our producers, our producer, and just kind of flagged that because it is quite a heavy session, that we can X out of a scene. Likewise, for anybody who is watching along or listening along, if you find any of those themes particularly triggering or upsetting, do please feel free to just X out of the stream. The VOD's going to be available afterwards, and there'll be sort of a summary of these events available at a later stage without the kind of the heaviness of what we're kind of exploring in tonight's session. So just be mindful of those if you are watching along. With that, with her here, there's a moment where you see yourself. You see this childlike version of yourself squatting low against the back of it, the trunk of a tree. Creole kind of on her stomach, kind of reaching up, and you can see the laughter, and you can see the joy. And when you turn to face or turn to search for Groom, because you know they are here, they are somewhere in this space, just flittering through the tree line, you can see a shadow. Almost as if it's sort of going to uproot and shove and push these trees out of the way. There is just this gorging darkness sort of beginning to swallow up this memory. And the forest even gets darker. And as you look down on your younger self, you just hear booming through the forest, "Krill, where is the lad?" And you hear Oren, your father. And immediately your mother kind of just pushes herself up onto her knees. She's kind of dragging you up then, and she stands to turn in the direction that you had for a moment seen that shadow. And just barreling through the woods, you see the towering structure that is your father. Again, heavy furs and leathers, and an axe, a large great axe, just sort of planted between his shoulders, as he kind of storms into this, not quite a clearing, but kind of a thinner bundle of the trees. And they just start shouting at each other. And you can hear her saying, "He's a child. He's supposed to do these things." He's screaming, "He's already but a pup, if even that." And the word runt is thrown there. And all the while, as he is shouting at her, his eyes are looking at you, and they are filled with contempt. And he reaches down and just grabs you.
Can I hit him with the snowball I've got in my hand?
Yep. Make an attack roll.
An 11 plus whatever. I'm not sure for a snowball.
It's that thing of as he reaches down, you scooped just a handful, and it's heavier. Like it's that thing of like you had been squeezing it in your tiny little hand, and you just fling it up at him. It catches him just in the face, and he immediately, as he was reaching with his left hand, with his right, he just swats you. Like he just backhands you straight into the head, knocking you to the ground. And your mother just starts screaming at him. Diara.
I'm not sure I even understand why I did it. I think like Annam's anger is confusing at a young age, and as fast as I can, I'm back on my feet and dusting off and standing to face him again because I know it's what he expects.
It's in this moment, Diara, that the scene almost seems to freeze. You see Annam getting back up. He can't be older than 6, maybe 7 at a tops. He is the Annam that you know, the Annam that you remember, is tall and lean, wiry. This, as a child, he's quite small. He's almost frail looking, sickly looking, especially when you see him standing next to the woman and then her next to this man, and you know them to be uh, mother and father, and you don't quite know how or why, but there is a moment that it these things click into place, and you see him standing up, and a quite a deep gash on his forehead where he'd hit the ground, um, and with kind of blood just like trickling down his face, and you can see the tears in his eyes. You can see the rage in the child's eyes as well, and it's that rage you know Annam has within him. Uh, you didn't know it was at such a young age that it had begun to fester and burn within him. And you again hear that voice. Hope. He hopes to fight the giant. A child against a titan.
He's just a child, though. How is he supposed to face someone so monstrous? How could he be like that to his own son?
Um, I just, I, Diara, I understand you and Reggie are close, but I'm going to have to dock his pay. Like I'm not paying, and he's pointing you. And again, everything's gone like that. You don't see it. You are just, your attention is directed up to this painting that hangs above the doors of Summerkeep Guild. It's been there for years, and you can see kind of two kind of very neat and tidy looking men. One with kind of a belt that has various pockets and brushes kind of poking out of it, and they're both staring up at it. And you can just see, like, others have mentioned it, and it's Reggie. There's a little caricature of Reggie on top of the keep, on top of the hill that overlooks Canuck, and Byron is now kind of like stood like next to a ladder looking up, and there was a conversation about it's coming out of Reggie's wages, and now Byron looks back and and he's not fine. He's immature, but I'd hardly call the fella a child, and he eats with the appetite of about 4 men. So
I don't. I don't. I don't feel very well. Do you mind if I just get some air?
I fine. You if you're still not feeling great when you come back, do look for Mary just to see if she might have something.
Yeah, I will. Thank you.
But don't take too long, obviously, because
No, I'll be right back. I just need some air. I think it's just very. Yeah, I'll be back.
right. And he again, his eyes are locked on you. Uh, there's some like is it just something with this new lot that we're after getting? And he's talking to, and then you hear kind of like a heavy tut come from the direction of like the mess hall, and Eileen is standing there like just hands sort of like wrapped in a tea towel that she's just because she's been keeping an eye on what's going on here with the painting,
Oh, of
and
course.
and you there is a remark about you skiving off, half muttered very loudly under her breath,
Mm.
as she continues to kind of watch that Byron is going to be wasting money on a painting anyway, but sure, she's grand. Is there a particular direction that you were going or heading?
And no, she just wants to kind of go um, out of the house, so that she won't be interrupted.
Okay. Um, out of the like immediately out the front doors, you're kind of out in the kind of the open courtyard of the Summerkeep Guild, and there is kind of a couple of crates and stuff stacked off to the left hand side. Yes, there was a delivery from Cashlawn. Uh, Byron had gotten some ordered stuff in from the mainland. Um, you had already been kind of siphoning or kind of like organizing the posts and messages that had been coming in, stuff for the guild, stuff for Byron, stuff for recruits and initiates. Um, and you can it's still quite busy out here. And as you do sort of like, is it that you're looking for a quiet space?
Yeah.
Um, there's it with the again the memory is there. The initiates were all sort of sworn in 3 days ago, but the memory doesn't. It's that as you start to focus on everything, that memory feels as much like a dream as everything that's happened to you and that everything that you've seen so far today. And as you are kind of focusing on, hang on, what happened? Where was I? That we're coming to your nat 20 on your wisdom save. Both of these things happened.
Okay.
And as you fix on that, there's a moment where you find yourself sort of, it's almost as if you could see them both in front of you, as if you can see on your left the woods and the recruits, or sorry, the village guards, the ice mephits, uh Anam's mother, the fight, you clearly see it. And on the other side you see Byron in the long hall in his finery. You see delegates from around the Inishtarug, and even one or two of Byron's old comrades from the original Summer Keep adventuring group. They're sort of to a side as names are called out, and you are sworn to take the oath of the Summer Keep Guild. And you watch as you see Redmond and Mooney rise and go and take and take a knee and swear the oath. Both of these things occurred, but as much as you recall both, and you recall them with similar detail, that idea of, well, one of them must be a dream, one of them must be fake, is gone, because neither are fake. Neither one is a dream. Both happened.
Um, now she's incredibly confused because how could they both have happened? Um, so she's just going to try and, yeah, if she can find some kind of quiet area that she can not meditate, but kind of just encourage herself to go into that kind of in betweeny sleepy headspace.
Like a trance.
Yeah, to try and essentially get back to the vision she was having of Annam, because I feel like she kind of inherently knows that she's obviously been shown this for a reason, but she needs to figure out why.
It's one of those things where as you sort of snap, like it's that thing of no, I have to figure this out. I have to get a hold on this. Um, you're while your thoughts might have been adrift, you kept moving, and you kind of find yourself in one of the long fields at the back of the guild. And it's often where you would find Mooney chatting to any of the sheep that had come grazing. But with no sign of Mooney and no sheep, you kind of sit low in the tall grass. Um, Give me a wisdom saving throw as you sort of like shut your eyes and just take in everything around you. You're muted.
12.
Okay. As you sit there, and it's that thing of like, what do I think about? I think of nothing? Oh yeah, I have to think of nothing. And when you try to think of nothing, you end up inevitably thinking of something. So then it's, well, I'll just think of Annam, or I'll think of what I just saw, and too much begins to kind of flood in, and it's quite difficult for you to kind of switch off or to get into that headspace. And then you just feel a hand on your shoulder. And once again, that voice just sort of whispering at the back of your mind. There can only truly be hope in despair. You must witness what has begun.
She's going to take a deep breath and, feeling incredibly stupid, but also extremely determined, she's just going to close her eyes and nod and say, "Show me."
And as as you think that and you find the words, you hear that humming, that lullaby being sort of sung again. And it goes quieter until there's just a stillness hanging in the air. And you see that interior again of the cabin. There's a fire, but it's not burning brightly. And there's a man in the corner, fixed his eyes on the axe as he polishes it. You can see the furs and pelts draped over beams in the ceiling, but you don't see any wildflowers drying. You don't see any herbs to the side in bushels. And in that, as you scan looking for the woman and her child, pitched in a corner on a small table, you just see Annam, about 12 or 13. just staring into a small, flat little tin plate.
It's like, no, I lost it. She's going to just kind of focus her energy on, or her, not her energy, her attention on Adam, and like just watch to see what he's doing.
And this moment, he just seems to be pushing something around on his plate. It looks like a piece of dried fish or something.
And his mum's not here at all.
You don't see her at all.
I can't remember if he would have spoken to us about her. Like, since we've met.
Richard, do you want to come in there?
I think Alan doesn't like to talk about his family life, but everyone knows the stories of Oren, so he's kind of forced to. And outside of that, it's
you kind of scan your memories, kind of looking back. Was there ever anything? And there was all this sort of, particularly from Byron, actually, and even a little bit of it from Reggie. His father, Oren, was sort of a renowned brute. Like, he was a champion fighter. There was nothing that could kind of stand up against his ferocious power and strength. And it wasn't just a case of he was, an accomplished and skilled fighter. It was that he actually had the physicality to kind of go with that. He, even amongst his people, he was big, and he, again, a lot of that kind of ways, and I think, give me an insight check, Dara, just as you're sort of like trying to recall and reflect on these memories.
15.
The one thing that you kind of really remember about anytime Anim's past was talked about, or he had to talk about it, he always seemed to almost shrink a little. Like, he kind of sunk in on himself a small bit. He would never seem to be totally comfortable telling those stories or listening to those stories being told about his father. And as you just watch them, and they are set at opposite ends of this space. The Oren, his father, set in that same corner you saw when he was only a baby, still sharpening and tending to the edge on his axe, his eyes sort of locked on the fire. But as you sort of fix on him, as you look on him, you notice that he's not staring into the fire. He's staring beyond it. His eyes are fixed on Anim. And all the while, just in the faint light that his eyes kind of catch from the flames that sort of wisp and spit up every now and again from the burning timber, there is a darkness in Oren's face. There is a shadow kind of burning in his eyes as he stares at his son.
She's kind of aware now that she's like this kind of ghost of Christmas past presence. So she, more to herself, she kind of wonders aloud, like, How could someone have so much resentment for their own child?
And as that thought sort of sits with you, from the corner, barked, you just hear, "It's your fault."
Adam tosses a pea across the plate and tries to pretend he hasn't heard it and just says the first thing that comes to his mind. And he thinks to what he's done that day. He's like, teacher says I throw the hand axe better than any student he's ever had.
There's just the spit of sparks as a log burning in the center of the room just sort of cracks open. And Dyer, you can hear Anim's voice, and it cuts across the silence, and then it is drowned in it. And there is this uneasiness, this tension just sitting there. And then with just a brutal, ferocious speed, you watch as Oren just bolts up onto his feet, reaches for something on his side, and he flings a hand axe. It splits the plate, sinking into the table inches from Adam.
She like physically recoils and just, I think, instinctively more than anything, just shouts at him, at Oren, "You're a fucking brute," and she'll cast vicious mockery, not like assuming it's not going to do anything.
You pull on the magic, but there's a disconnect. There's the you. It's as if it's just beyond your reach. You feel the energy, and as you draw on it, and as you feel the hate and the hurt and the want to lash out, and then a hand takes yours, and standing next to you, you see that woman in a long silver gown. That isn't yours. This isn't your memory. Let it go.
She'll just kind of sigh a bit in defeat. Okay. I think I understand.
And as you feel it, like as you feel that swelling of emotion within you, you turn to Annam, set at the table. And Annam, what in that moment, in that as the hand axe smashes and cracks into the table, what do you do?
I think there's a long silence, and the fire continues to crack, and you can hear Oren breathing, waiting for the response, and Adam just attempts to take the hand axe back out of the table.
Give me an athletics check.
That was a 15 plus 9, 24, but that's adult Adam's stats.
Uh,
So
we'll half
15 plus.
2. It's even the 15 even on its own is good enough. Um, it's as you reach and it doesn't necessarily come in one go. You have to kind of like wince it back and forth. Um, but as you pull it free, you like Oren is standing still. He's in front. He's in front of his chair, behind the fire, and his eyes are fixed on you. Go on, throw it.
Push the chair out, and I stand up slowly. And there's just a moment of tension of staring across the fire at each other. And I think Adam's hands are like visibly shaking, tightening on the axe. And then he just turns and walks out the door with it. And for the rest of the night, till he's ready to fall asleep, he stood outside just hammering down trees. Just thud, 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 just losing himself in the meditation of the axe hitting the tree.
And Diara, you see Anam take all of what you just felt and push it down. Let it sink until it's gone, until you can no longer reach and grasp for it. You see the flames in his eyes, the shadow of his father, all of it just dragged deep down. And as he reaches for the door, you just hear Oren barking, "You're not a fucking man, you're a cur." And as Anam just reaches and leaves, the door kind of closing behind him, you watch as Oron just begins to thrash out with the axe. He's screaming as he smashes it into the long, heavy, dark mantle. He swings at the pelts. He throws his chair across the room, and you just hear him roar out in agony, "You should have fucking died that day, not her." Um, and as you are snapped, like you hear this, and the hand lets go of yours, and you find yourself just still sitting in the field, and it seems to be a little later into the afternoon, if not evening. And as the memory sort of fades from you, you can just hear the sound of thud, 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 echoing from the woods just beyond the long field. And something tells you that is where you have to go.
Yeah, she'll kind of take a second to not process, because how the fuck do you process that? But like compose herself after what she's seen and felt. And then she'll kind of stand up and just make her way over to the woods, kind of psyching herself up for what's gonna await her.
And that is where we're going to take a quick breather, because I need a breather. I need a moment. I need a moment to. Thank you to everybody who has joined us so far this evening. Do take a couple of minutes yourself to get up and have a stress. I'm going to go outside and get some fresh air now. But do get up, have a stretch, grab a drink. It's just gone 25 past. We'll be back just before 25 to 10. Okay, so we will see you all then. And we are back. Hopefully, you've had a quick chance to grab a breath of fresh air. I know I did. And it is really cold outside. But if you are just tuning in, you are joining us at the halfway point of tonight's session for Beyond Horizon's Edge, a field of snowdrops. We've left off with Diara in a state of confusion and shock as the reality of what she's experiencing, what she's seeing, and what she's been dreaming of are beginning to collide, and all of them are real. What she believed to be dreams are, in fact, the reality and really did take place. And what she's experiencing now is beginning to feel more dream like. And she's seeing this through the memories and experiences of a friend, companion, and guild member of the Summerkeep Guild, Anam, who is gone, and she believes to be gone. But here she is seeing what he experienced, what he felt, and as we pick this back up, Dara, you have made your way beyond the long field, north of the guild and past the hills, into the woods. And all the while, you can hear this thud, the sound of an axe hitting the thick, heavy timber. And it sort of reverberates around the woods here. Not to the point that I don't know what direction it's coming from, but you can hear the echo, and there's a rhythm to it. And as you feel the kind of the crunching of dead leaves underfoot, the snapping of twig, you can almost breathe in the air, and the smell of the forest. And as the light kind of breaks through the trees and the leaves overhead, you start to see that afternoon is kind of beginning to dwindle into evening. And it's not getting dark, but the colors are changing. And again, as you find yourself following this sound, a wave of, at first, nostalgia, but like, yeah, you trained in these woods. You would have done drills. You would have ran sort of scenarios. You would have done obstacle courses here, all at Byron's beck and call as a recruit. But there's something more, and I need you to give me another wisdom saving throw.
Are you just hoping for me to fail these or what?
No, no.
15 again.
Oh, okay. Another one. I felt that one wasn't good enough. No, it's that thing of there's something else. There's something more than just those memories of running. There's something else just kind of beyond your vision, beyond your memory, and you almost kind of feel yourself physically turn to face it. And when you do, walking past you, you see Mooney, Redmond, Annam, and yourself.
Oh, weird.
And kind of just behind, directing, you see Byron sort of guiding you through these woods. And the memory comes back to you. You've walked this particular path before. You didn't run drills here. You didn't climb trees. You didn't. You didn't. It wasn't part of your training. And your feet kind of follow as the kind of the dream, the vision, the memory, hallucination. It's beginning to, what is actually any of this stuff. You follow behind, and the thudding of the axe against the trunk of a tree gets louder, as if at any moment when you turn the next corner, when you clamber over the next rock, just there, it's going to be, you're going to find the source. You're going to find who is chopping at these trees. But all you find is a clearing. A glade here in the middle of the forest that you don't recall seeing before, but all the while you can remember how the stone felt against your skin as you traced and read. And you watch as the gates open in this large stone mausoleum set in the middle of this clearing. And you watch as each of you descends down into these steps, and Byron following. The thudding of the axe stops. What do you do?
Does she remember this? Like the deja vu?
I mean, it's that thing of you're remembering, but you're also seeing it happen.
So does she remember what happened when they went down?
You remember waking up the next day.
At level 1?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she's going to follow them. Yeah.
You go to kind of move again, following the kind of the same path, and there's no clear steps here. There's a path to right where it looks as if somebody has walked a couple of times, but there isn't a worn dirt road to this thing. It's just this large stone tomb just sitting in the middle of these woods. And as you approach, you can hear people talking inside. You can hear Byron saying something. And as you reach for the gates to kind of pull back and let yourself in, a hand takes you by the wrist and just kind of tugs. This isn't the time, Daira.
I thought I was supposed to watch.
You have been here before.
I know. I saw myself.
But do you really remember?
We went down into that weird tomb, and then no, not really. I remember waking up the next day.
There's something else I have to show you.
Okay.
We will return here, you and I. But I need you to be ready.
Ready for what?
For her.
For
And
who?
you're pulled from the gate, and there's a flash of a moment where you can just see, again, all you're kind of seeing is a shoulder. You can see the long silver dress, a curl of like white hair.
Yeah.
You've never quite got a full picture of who or what this woman is. And when you are kind of pulled and kind of torn away from it, you kind of find yourself stumbling down a small slope, and your feet almost slip, and the cold wallops you like a wall of ice. It just buries itself into you. and you hear the crunching of snow underfoot and frozen dirt just cracking, and you can hear the shouting and bellowing of a crowd in this huge open barren field where the soil has been ripped and frozen, um, and you just see this gathering of people have all kind of formed a ring, and they're sort of lumbering over the tops of them. You recognize the mountainous figure of Oren, his back to you, and you can see a deep welt of a scar along the back of his neck, just kind of poking up over the fur trimmed collar of the coat that he is wearing as he reaches for his great axe. And someone in the crowd is trying to talk him down. Someone in the crowd is trying. You can kind of hear him. He's just a lad, or he's just. You'll kill him. But the words are lost on his ears. They're just noise whispered and shrieked by the wind. What are you doing?
She immediately knows in her gut that when that crowd parts, she's going to see Annam. So she'll kind of make her way to the edge of the circle, or if she can, into the circle.
There's a moment as you sort of try to squeeze past through the crowd, and it's kind of by habit more than anything else, but you're almost kind of like walking through them as you do sort of kind of meander your way through. And it is as you had suspected and feared. There, standing only about 20 feet on the opposite end of this, almost eclipsed by his father's frame, you see Annam, a good deal older than the last time, probably in his late teens, almost. And you do see, like, he's standing there. He is holding an axe in his hands, not to the same size and weight and build as his father's, but he is standing there, and he's fixed in place. I need you to give me another wisdom saving throw. And the DC is 15.
16.
That's fine. No, that's it's all good. Did I say 15? I meant 50. 50. DC 50.
I don't have a D100.
Doesn't matter. Oh, well, you just fail. As you fix on him, there's a moment where it's almost like you're seeing the other versions, these other visions of him that you've had throughout the last day. You see the younger Annam, the teenager that sort of that very not quite a teenager, not quite a child, sort of standing up and holding that hand axe, gripping it tightly in his hand. And you see the rage and the anger. And then you see the child, a lump of snow just squeezed in their hand, compacted, staring at this mountain of muscle and rage and fury. All of them fixed on him, all of them hoping. And it's in that moment there that you see just this aura of white and silver light just sort of wafting off of Annam. And in the crowd, you see that woman in the long silver dress. And she's just staring at Annam. And you see she's glowing with that same energy, that same light. And Richard, I need you to roll for initiative.
Oh no.
Um,
Kandayara kind of.
A big almighty 12.
Oh no.
Okay. And that is.
Dayara's just going to move to be kind of nearer to the woman.
You're going to try and move to the crowd to kind of get to her. Okay. That's an 18 for Oren. And a 12 for Anna. Okay. In this moment, Oren just pulls the coat and the heavy cloak off himself, and you, Dara, just see this frame checked and marked with scars, some deep, some old, almost kind of slightly faded into it. You see quite a large barreled chest heaving, like he is, as he inhales the air, you just see his chest sort of expanding. And as he exhales, though his kind of chest sinks, he nonetheless still quite broad, still quite wide, still quite sturdy. But his breath catches on the wind, and there is just this sort of vapor emanating from him as he grits his teeth, barrels down into himself, and then just bursts outwards as you see his muscles tighten. And you just see, you can actually, his face has gone blood beet red. And there is spit at the edges of his mouth. And there is nothing but rage in his eyes as he goes into a rage. He then goes to, he just charges straight at you, Annam, with his axe. And that is a 23 to hit.
That is.
For, pardon me, 18 slashing damage.
Cool. I suppose it's important to ask, am I already raging, or do I need to set that up?
No, you need to be setting that up.
Cool.
But it's that thing of he's off his feet, and the ground almost shakes there with each stomp of Oren's feet, and in half a breath he's on Annam, and then the great axe just buries itself straight down. It looked for a moment as if he was trying to cleave his own son in half. The edge of the blade just slices straight into Oren's shoulder down, and there is just a gush of blood. And the crowd just kind of, there is kind of a gasp, and there's even a couple of cheers. Annam.
Well, first off, I press my hand down to my hand axe, and without breaking eye contact with my father, I'm like, "It was not my fault," and I'll begin to rage. And I bring the hand axe up across his face.
Yep, rolled it.
Uh, 16.
Meets it, beats it.
Cool. For 8. Rage damage, 10 damage.
Okay, that's already halved, is it? So
No.
no, okay, grand, okay, perfect. Your bonus action was rage. You don't have multi. You don't have like 2 weapon attack around at that. 2 weapon fighting. Okay.
If I'm still my level, I've got extra attack. if I'm young
Yeah,
enough.
no, we will. We're going to have you at this level. Yeah.
6 extra attack then. 28.
That's going to hit him.
For another 9 damage. Not halved.
Not halved. Okay.
Then that'll be my turn.
Okay. It's
I just start circling around him.
yeah, where you see Orin as this sort of block of muscle and just physique, broad, strong, sturdy, heavy on his feet. You see Anam, almost the antithesis of his father, lean, wiry, almost scrawny. Like this version of him doesn't look as as sort of athletic as what you know him to be. But as his father's great axe comes down on top of him, he reaches, and then you just see him get larger. Like he gets bigger, not to the same point as Orin, definitely not to the same sort of bulging mass. But you can see more of a kind of a raw physicality in his muscular definition, and reaching for a hand axe at his side, almost ignoring the cut that's kind of ripped into him. You see him just bring it up as if to bury it into Orin's head. Just sort of miss as it catches his father into the left side of his chest, and just slashes, and then immediately swings for a second hit. Just this thud. And as he pulls back, just sort of duck and kind of weave, like almost sort of weasel himself around Orin. And in that, then the his father just lets out just this phlegm-filled roar. You just see spit just sort of screamed into the air as he leans onto his left leg and just swings out for a reckless attack. Okay. And that is a 22 to hit on the first one. He's going to miss on the a 14 on the second one.
Misses.
Okay, so the 22. And that is 9 plus. That is 16 slashing damage. Halved 8. And again, throwing the full weight onto his left leg, he sort of half turns his body, Diara, as you see Orin again swing in. Quicker this time, though, Anam sort of twists himself, getting caught just above his hip, and you do see kind of the leather sort of belt and even kind of sheets of like armor that he had on are just ripped away. You see flesh just sort of sliced through, and just a chunk of Orin's hip just sort of like knocked off of him. Immediately then bringing the full force of the axe up over his head into that sort of inertia, he brings it down, but is too slow as Anam sort of throws and sort of stumbles out of the way under his father's swing. It is over to you, Anam.
Adam's still just screaming, and the crowd can probably barely make out what's being said between them, but Adam's just half of it is just incoherent, struggling to get the words out amidst the literal just rage filling him. And then in every little moment of clarity that peeks through, he's just catching Orin's eyes and thinking of his mother, and he pictures the hand axe hitting the plate at the table, and he just, I'm something you will never be. And again, he reaches for the second hand axe, and with one in each hand, swings wildly across.
Make your attack rolls. Diara, give me a perception check.
Crit.
A crit. Ooh, okay.
3.
1 second.
Wait. 5. Can I just say this whole time Diara is like sobbing and has healing magic gathered in her hands, but knowing it's not going to help. She's just like incredibly frustrated.
Again, as you are kind of pulling on the magic, you know it's there. It is as much a part of you as everything, but there is just this gap. There is this void between you and it. What did you get on your second one, Adam? Altogether? Okay. Oh, I started rounding up. I started being generous after D8 Dungeon Mania, so I started rounding it up. So 14. Um, yeah, it is in this moment, and again, the crowd. A lot of the crowd are like as many are as fixed on what's happening, and some people are taking bets on who's going to come out the victor here. And Diara, from what you can gather, in all of this, as much as you are hoping and wishing and wanting and needing to help your friend, you are sort of all of this is too much to take on. All of this is too much to take in. How can this happen? How can father turn on his son like this? How can a son hate his father so much? And all of it is overwhelming, and you can feel the tears coming. And all the while, the woman in silver is just still. She's standing next to you, and any attempt you make to kind of look at her or take her in is sort of met with just it's hard. Like you can't quite get an eye on her properly, and she just whispers, "Wait," and you just hear this sickening crack as Annam buries a hand axe between his father's shoulder blades, and in that full momentum pulls himself up and just throws his body over, hacking with his right hand down into his father's shoulder. And there is the field that they are fighting is just now there is just pools of blood splattered into the dirt. The snow is running red in patches around them, and you see that both men have just these large open cuts and slashes and digs in at each other as Anim throws himself over the front of Oren, sort of landing on his 2 feet into the dirt, both axes in hand, both covered in blood. And again, you just see him clenching his teeth. And the two of them, they're screaming at each other, and you can't make out much of what they're saying. It's so hard to take it all in, and you just see okay, that's a 26 to hit and a 27 to hit, so both are going to go 14, and that's 30 slashing damage. As like as much as like you see the blood just gushing out of Oren's back, he sort of leans. He kind of throws himself back, kind of arches himself, and in full kind of force, just sort of bring the axe straight down. Again, looking to take an arm, looking to take a chunk off of you, Anam. And you just hear a name screamed from him. It is the only sound that catches in your ears, and Diara, you can hear it. And in that same moment, as the sound reaches you, you feel that woman take your hand as you hear him scream Creole, and she just squeezes your hand watch. And you just see Annam light up, like he's literally glowing and burning with hope as he hears his mother's name screamed by his father. Annam, it is your action.
Just filled with that thought, Annam just shouts at his father again. She made me human, and you never could be! And I think at this point, Annam just, as a bonus action, it's going to be adding my elemental damage to my main hand axe there, which will just be 1d6 cold. And I throw it like from point blank, just straight at my father's face. 28 to hit.
Yep.
For 11 damage.
Okay.
And then 4 cold damage on top.
Okay. Okay.
And then following up, right behind the thrown axe, like the other axe swinging, as if to hammer it in if it hits.
Gotcha. It will say, looking to kind of bury it into his head. It doesn't quite, but you have taken a chunk of his ear off, and like you see it kind of hit the ground with a thud behind him. But you come running with the axe to kind of again swing it into the side of his head. If you want to make your attack roll for this.
My second one was 11.
Okay, yeah, no. He brings kind of the great axe up, and you just catch, your hand axe catches the handle, and there is just a thud sound as it's buried kind of into it. He is going to okay, that's a 22 to hit, but this is the first thing. He, with your hand axe kind of buried into the handle of his great axe, he is going to, with one hand, kind of sweep down to kind of grab at you, kind of like burying his fist into your ribs. And I need you to make we're going to be, he's rolling to grapple you. But you need to take 8 bludgeoning damage. Yes, you can make an athletics check. And you're looking to beat a 23.
26.
Okay. It does. He catches you kind of right into the ribs, and then immediately you just feel his hands grab at you as they kind of. It's not even a case of he's just kind of. They scratch. They bury themselves into you as he grabs that flesh and goes to just pull you in, and you're able to kind of wrangle your way out. As he kind of takes a half step back from you, and it's your action. You have one hand axe. He's in front of the other one.
Just running through my memories and caught up in the moment, and I'm sure I'm deep beneath the rage is so confused by everything that's happening, and he drops the hand axe and he reaches for his back for his great axe. You know, he's leaving behind what his father thinks he is, and he's showing his father what he is in this moment. And he takes the great axe and bonus action to elemental infuse it. And once again, cold damage. He just throws it. This huge great axe straight at his father. Uh, 28 to hit.
Yeah. And your damage?
And that's 16 damage. Sorry, plus 3, 19 damage. And then 6 cold damage on top. So halved to 10 and then 6 cold. And then as quickly as like the great axe is connected, the chain on Adam's belt tightens as the axe has like reached its range, and he spins, and the axe flings back to him. He catches the handle, continues spinning with momentum, and lets it fly again.
Derek, give me a wisdom saving throw.
That's a 13 hit.
A 13 doesn't hit.
6.
Okay. It's all of it is such a blur watching it, and you can hear Anam screaming at Oren, and even now most of the crowd has gone quiet. This isn't a father and son quarreling over land or just stupid man bullshit that they can only kind of sort out by beating each other to a pulp. It has kind of dawned on the crowd that these men are trying to kill each other. That in all likelihood, one, if not both, will not leave this field alive. And there is just this foreboding heaviness now sort of sinking into the crowd. And Dara, you watch as Anam reaches for his great axe, and you hear the heavy clinking of his chain as it hits the ground. And he turns on his left foot, a very similar movement to what Oren did when he swung his great axe. And as he throws his weight into that momentum, you watch as the great axe flies through the air, slicing through the cold and the wind, and catching Oren right in under the arm. Uh, it buries itself, and as quickly as it does, the chain goes taut, and you see ice just form and crack along it. And where there was blood, there is now just this thick slush as the skin around the wound has been burned by ice. And there is a howl of anguish from Oren as he bites through his bottom lip, spitting blood and spit on the ground. And he reaches for the chain to grab and pull, but it is yanked back. And the wound seeps with a kind of a thick, deep red blood that spills onto the ground. And as quickly as he pulls it back, it is set out. And in that moment, your eyes catch on something else in the crowd. There's a shadow moving. But you hear the clinking of the chain, and the woman walks forward. And you watch as everything slows to a pace as Oren stands stronger in himself. You kind of hear almost the cracking of his bones as he pulls the great axe up out of the ground, and it lights on fire. And it burns with this intense, deep blue flame. And you see his eyes catch it. And you watch as the woman in the silver gown just steps forward. Nobody else notices her. And she just drapes her hands around Anam. And you see her almost embrace him as she leans her head onto his shoulders. As steel clashes against steel, as father and son take arms up against each other, hacking and slashing, all the while she is there. She is hope. And you feel something heavy in your pocket as you watch something else move through the crowd. And there's a gasp, Dara, as you see Oren on his knees. A deep wound set into his chest, and blood is just spurting and gushing out of it faster and heavier and quicker than any other wound on him. And you watch as Anam reaches for his hand axe again, gripping it. And in all of this, you just feel the weight. And as your hand reaches into the pocket, you find a small golden coin.
Do I
And
remember it?
you remember Annam talking about one that he had come across. His, I think, I don't. Did you show it to the others, or was it just Mooney who'd seen it? I think it was just you'd mentioned a coin, but I don't think you'd shown it to anybody else.
I think I rambled about it.
Yes, yeah. He had talked about this coin that he had on his person, and it was weird and it was strange. And then I think there was talk of Reggie trying to get the coin off of him at one point as well. And the way he spoke about the coin made it seem like it was bad, as if it was heavy. This doesn't feel like that, and you just hear your name called, Dara, as you look into the battlefield and you watch as Annam raises back with his hand axe, and your eyes meet the woman. A deep, swirling green. And she smiles at you. Only in despair, Diara, can hope spring eternal. And something moves through the crowd. And it all happens so quickly. She was standing there. She was wrapped around him. He was glowing. He was winning. And she is gone. And there is a rumbling of thunder overhead. And the sky just bursts as it begins to pelt hail and sleet and fat drops of rain down onto the crowd as Annam lets out a roar, looking up, hand axe ready. But for all his strength, for all his mass, Oren had speed. And you watch as the Titan bears down on top of the child. His two large hands grasping around his neck. And there's a rumble of thunder. And the echoing of a crack. As Annam falls lifelessly in Oren's hands. And as the crowd begins to dissipate, the rain continues to pour. Annam's body just lying there in the melting snow and the gathering pools of water. Walking away, you see Mooney, shoulder to shoulder, with a woman all in grey, draped over, and they vanish. The coin in your hands. Do you need me to get married? Dar, you're absolutely soaked to the bone. Where you said you'd only be gone for 15 minutes.
I must have lost track of time. I'm sorry. I'll get to the sorting now.
Well, it's you. That's all done, Diara.
What?
It's closer to midnight. And he like Byron takes you by the two hands, kind of like, and just shuts the heavy mahogany door of the guild behind you, and you are drenched to the bone. You are absolutely soaking wet, and you feel the coldness setting into you and the heaviness of your clothes almost dragging you down. You can smell the blood.
Have you seen Mooney?
She's gone off with Regiment. The errand,
To where?
they're they should be back hopefully tomorrow evening at best.
Where, Byron? Where did they go?
They're off dealing with a theft.
Of what? Where?
I'll have to check my notes.
Sorry.
No, like it is that thing of Byron is like there was a summons. There, some amulet was robbed.
And she's like, kind of over his shoulder, and then eventually moving him out of the way to try and flick through the things to see.
Brookfield. It was Brookfield Manor.
And then she's going to start packing up.
No, he's kind of pulling at you now as well, like kind of away from the desk. Kind of, they'll be fine. She's there to keep an eye on Regiment.
I bet she is.
I didn't really have money on the two of them being an item, but whatever floats everybody's boat these days, I suppose.
You don't get it. I need to go.
Are you all right?
Yeah,
And
I'm
like,
fine.
he's taking you kind of into his kind of his hands down. He's kind of holding you. You're not looking well there. You're looking a lot worse than you were this morning.
Well, I'm just wet. It's fine. I'll be fine.
So you're expecting me to let you out in that rain to go looking for Regiment and Mooney, who are probably cozy in two feather beds in Brookfield Manor?
No.
Right. Well, you head up. I'll have one of the new recruits bring you a small pot of ginseng tea, and you take a sip of that. You get out of those wet clothes, and we can maybe see about you going out tomorrow, or I can send one of the other lads out to have a look if you're concerned.
Okay. Yeah.
And he is like he's looking at you there, kind of. Did something happen?
No. Everything's fine. Good night, Byron. I'll see you in the morning. She's fully like trying to get away from him so she can go pack a bag upstairs and climb out the window.
You like he kind of lets you go, and it is a thing as you head kind of up the two flights of stairs to your quarters on the second floor. You kind of spill into the room, and as you are kind of looking and searching, like again, yeah, Mooney left first thing in the morning. She didn't wake you. She's gone on an errand or a quest with Redmond. Where's Annam? Like, I mean, you know where he is, but that didn't happen. That he was here. You remember him. You fought alongside him. You healed his wounds. He talked to you well late into the night, sharing stories. How can you have these memories? How can you have these real experiences with somebody you saw die long ago. And in the moment of you sort of packing these belongings, stuffing things into a bag, looking like just getting as much as you can, kind of eyeing the window and looking at it, maybe you can get to the stables without being seen and get a horse. The rain just thundering down outside. You feel the weight in your pocket. And you find that sort of shimmering golden coin again. And as you sort of fix on it and kind of turn it in your hands, you see that embossed on the surface there is what looks to be like a bird of some sort of its wings spread open, as if it's sort of soaring upwards or rising upwards. And as you turn it, each part of the wing, almost each feather that has been sort of carved into it, catches the light from the lantern in your room differently, almost like a different fractal of light. The spectrums of color all seem to sort of shine or emanate differently from it. And on the outside, on the rim of the coin, you see the words, "Hope springs eternal." And as you stuff the coin back into your pocket and you gather a rucksack onto your shoulders, you make for the window and the trellis beyond. As you begin to clamber down, you just hear the rolling and rumbling of thunder overhead and the rain continuing to pelt. You make for the stables. And with only the name of the manor and a rough idea of where it could be, you saddle up a horse, and in the dead of night, in the storm, you race down the hill towards the village of Canuck. And that is where we're going to leave tonight's session.
Oh, I gotta try and save my boy.
A huge thank you to my cast this evening. A absolutely upsetting performance in the good way from Richard as Annam, and a bewildered and determined performance from Eilish as Diara. A big nod and thank you to our producer Emma, who was running the show in the background, and to you in chat who joined us along in the comments, or even if you were just lurking in the background. Thank you so much for being here this evening and for joining us. This was Beyond Horizon's Edge, a field of snowdrops. And before we go, I just want to quickly make mention of who we are. We are D8 Dungeon. This is but one of the campaigns that we run around these parts. You can catch us here every second Monday for Beyond Horizon's Edge. On Thursdays, alternating, you will catch our TTRPG talk show, Ben and Declan on a Roll, where myself and Ben from Homebrew Quest chat about all things tabletop role-playing game, related, associated, attached, circumferencing, even slightly in the same vein. So it's mostly Ben. Yes, it is. That's correct. Yeah, it is. That's correct, Emily. It is mostly Ben who does most of the heavy lifting. I am just background noise for Ben, as discussed previously. Alternating on Thursdays, we have our show Random DMs, where we take an established module for D&D 5e and we run it through its paces. The catch being every session is DM'd by a different DM, so 5 players, 5 DMs, all telling the same story, just sharing that responsibility and showing you a different side to DMs' styles, tricks, and so on and so forth. Our podcast series, Romancing the Dungeon, is almost finished its season break, and we are looking at a late August, early September return to that, which releases every second Friday on all major podcast platforms and over on YouTube as well. You can catch us on all social media at D8 Dungeon. You can pop over to our Discord server where some of the coolest people on the internet hang out. Eilish is there as well. I am absolutely so stoked to get to run these stories with some of these people. They're absolutely some of the best folks in the world to get to hang out to, and it is an absolute privilege to get to run a table with them, for them, and mostly my job is to just sit there and go, "Oh my god, that's class! Okay, how do I make that? How do I do that?" So I am but a humble voice helping to string it all together. I would be nothing without my players. We have some upcoming shows starting very, very soon. We are returning to our gothic horror series, Saving Grace, hopefully in September, and there's going to be an open casting call for a short-term campaign, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, for a new series that myself and Ben will be developing together. And that's all I will say about that at the moment, in case Ben gives out to me for spoilers. But we are working on something together, and there'll be more details to follow on that. Do keep an eye on our social media and our Discord server for that casting call. We always love to work with new people and folks, so if you see that, do apply, and there'll be more details to drop soon, I promise. Last, but by no means least, just to quickly flag some friends of ours here at D8 Dungeon, and they are mysterydicegoblin.com. They are premier D&D dice UK shop that cater to all TTRPG needs, from dice to content and stuff to help you with your games, your setup as a player or a DM. And we have a discount code. So if you use the code D8 at the discount, you get 15% off your order, and we get a portion of that sale then back to us. So Mr. Dice Goblin make a sale, you get a discount, and we get a portion of that sale then as well. And that goes to helping us commission artists for various character work, layouts, overlays, so on and so forth, musicians for music for our various different streams and games and stuff like that, and kind of help keep the lights on overhead here. It has been an absolute blast. We are back in 2 weeks' time for the next episode, and we will learn what fate has befallen our dear Redmond in Howls in the Dark. That is in 2 weeks' time. We will see you then. We are going to raid a channel, so while our wonderful producer queues up the exit screen, we are going to get ready to get to raid, so don't go anywhere. But do have a good week, and hopefully we will talk to you very, very soon.
Thanks.